My spouse proposed an open marriage, yet I provided a dose of reality that terminated our union. My 29-year-old, stunning spouse expressed her desire for external relationships within our matrimony. She was explicit in her intentions, making it simple for me to comprehend. To initiate the process, I arranged an elegant dinner at one of our preferred restaurants. I ensured the setting was ideal, with white tablecloths and a choice selection of wine. I also purchased a diamond necklace she had been hinting at, investing nearly $1,000 on it. Unbeknownst to her, I'd soon need to recover that expense. Throughout dinner, I noticed her discomfort. Our usual casual conversations were tensed. She appeared distracted, scanning the room as if looking for something or someone. Normally, when she gazed at me, her eyes remained steady. However, now they drifted aimlessly. Eventually, after we completed the main course and had more wine, she addressed her concerns. "Sweetheart, I've been pondering over something for quite some time now, and I believe it's past due to discuss it." You paused, setting down your wine glass cautiously. What could be the topic of this discussion? Her demeanor had shifted, taking on a grave tone that usually signals an important matter. Your mind raced with possibilities. Was she planning to disclose her desire for parenthood? We had previously agreed to delay family planning until we were secure in our careers and finances. However, given our current status, the prospect of having children was intriguing. Yet, her evasion of eye contact hinted at a different matter. Typically, discussions about starting a family are accompanied by cheerfulness and uninterrupted gazes, but that evening, something was amiss. "Sweetheart, we need to talk," Andrea began, her face etched with seriousness, indicating this wasn't an ordinary chat. She expressed deep thoughts, emphasizing the significance. "I've been thinking a lot." Her voice quivered slightly. "I feel the need to explore my identity independently from us." This took me aback, my mind whirled. "What do you mean?" I inquired, striving for composure. Leaning closer, I attempted to catch her gaze, but she avoided it. "I want to date others, Rob. I suggest we both accept this to prevent hurting each other in the future." This struck me like a heavy weight. My heart raced, and heat spread across my face. "What do you imply by others?" I insisted, needing clarity. My voice grew louder, tinged with disbelief and fury. "Are you referring to dating men?" She hesitated, chewing her lip. "Yes, that might be involved," she eventually admitted. The world seemed to spin around me. "Are you saying you want to date other men and expect me to be fine with it?" You could see my frustration bubbling up. "Andrea, I don't understand. Could this be acceptable?" She reached for my hand across the table, but I pulled back. "I still love you, Rob. That hasn't changed. I just need to explore this aspect of myself. It's something I have to do." Her words felt like a betrayal, and no matter how calmly she explained it, I couldn't comprehend. As we sat there, the restaurant noise faded into nothingness. It dawned on me that our lives might never be the same again. "What in the world are you discussing, Andrea?" The shock was evident in my voice. "You want to have an affair and expect me to just nod along while you go with other men? Good heavens!" My words were louder than I meant them to be, and I felt the gazes of other diners upon us. "Keep your voice down, dear," Andrea whispered back. It seems she intentionally chose this bustling restaurant to ensure our conversation would be overheard, anticipating my reluctance to make a public spectacle. She had orchestrated the situation, taking me by surprise. A wave of nausea washed over me, and I felt like vomiting everything we'd consumed. The only question that came to mind was, "Why Andrea? Why other men?" I persisted for answers. "What do you mean by explore yourself? Are you suggesting you want to be with other men? Are you leaving me?" She looked at me, her eyes showing compassion but resolute. "No, Rob, I'm not abandoning you. There are various reasons that lead me to make this decision. Trust me when I say I love you deeply. You're my soulmate. I envision a future with us, growing old and starting a family. However, currently, there are aspects I lack understanding of myself. I'm asking for your permission for just a few months to embark on this exploration. Following that, I'd be fully yours again," I pledged. Her words were meant to comfort, but they hung ominously between us, weighty and unstable. Could I genuinely accept this? Could our marriage endure it? This proposal haunted me as I sat there, wrestling with her request. This seemed the most unbearable scenario I could envision. On our fifth anniversary dinner, my wife sprung a bombshell by revealing she wanted to start dating other men. She expected me to simply accept this, nodding as if nothing was amiss, and promised that everything would return to normal as if nothing had transpired. She went so far as to claim it would enhance her as a spouse. I found myself speechless, my thoughts scattered, and struggling even to breathe, feeling like I was in some kind of dream. I rose, neatly folded my napkin on the table, and drained my wine in one swallow. Without uttering a word, I set down the glass, swiveled around, and exited. "Honey, where are you headed?" she called after me. "I'm not sure," I replied, without looking back. "But it might be best if you take a taxi home." Exiting the restaurant, I located my vehicle and simply drove. I had no specific destination, merely a desire to escape. My head throbbed, the pain emanating from the base of my skull and radiating everywhere, making concentration difficult. Lost in the roar of the engine and the streak of streetlights flashing past, time and location became irrelevant. The next morning, I awoke in my car, still feeling the throbbing in my head and surrounded by unfamiliar surroundings. Stepping out, stretching, and looking around, I tried to convince myself that the previous night was just a nightmare. My immediate needs were to find a bathroom and a large cup of coffee. A plan for the day was necessary before considering returning home. After relieving myself behind a nearby bush, I restarted the car and set out in search of my needed caffeine. I stumbled upon a compact diner, procured breakfast alongside my coffee, and settled down to ponder the situation. The thought of allowing my wife to engage with other men was unthinkable. It would inevitably spell the demise of our marriage. Regardless of her words from last night, I couldn't dispel the sensation that she wasn't the woman I believed I married. Perhaps she was grappling with a breakdown, concocting concepts far removed from reality. I'm no psychologist, merely a man grappling with perplexity at present. Upon reactivating my phone, which had been switched off during the night, I noticed multiple texts and missed calls from Andrea. Her concern about my whereabouts and well-being was evident. At that moment, I wasn't prepared to return home or converse with her, but I recognized I couldn't evade her forever. Instead of responding to her messages promptly, I decided to defer action. After downing several cups of coffee and indulging in a robust breakfast consisting of eggs and bacon, I outlined a rudimentary strategy for the subsequent steps. It was time to tackle the situation at home, which awaited my arrival. As I parked in the driveway, Andrea hastily emerged from the front door, her countenance etched with concern. "Dear, where have you been all night?" she questioned, trying to embrace me. Her worry led her to fear I had met with an accident or something far worse. I tactfully retreated and stated, "Andrea, first let me freshen up by taking a shower. Once done, we must discuss the matter about self-exploration you brought up last night." I continued towards the bedroom without delay, discarding the suit I had worn throughout the evening. During my lengthy hot shower, I rehearsed what I intended to convey. Uncertainties clouded my thoughts. I pondered if she remained my wife, or if this was her way of saying farewell. Perhaps it was a test to assess my devotion. Trying to decipher her intentions was driving me mad. Despite my love for her, I was married to her, wasn't I? We held a grand, beautiful wedding followed by a Europe tour for celebration. Previously unconsidered thoughts of being with another woman arose within me, and I found myself fully committed. However, it appeared she wasn't in sync with the same sentiments. Thankfully, we had no children, making the situation somewhat less complex. The direction our relationship would take was entirely dependent on the coming days and weeks. Following a wardrobe change, I ventured into the kitchen to prepare another cup of coffee. A notepad and pen caught my attention as Andrea sat at the kitchen island, gazing intently at me. I attempted to project composure, but internally I was in emotional upheaval. Coffee in hand, I settled down opposite her. "Andrea, could you elucidate once more why you wish to explore relationships beyond our marriage?" Andrea fixed her gaze on me and said, Dear, I require validation as a woman. Currently, I feel that my requirements are unfulfilled. You're trying to understand your own needs and find personal fulfillment, correct? And it seems like you're considering some independence within our relationship to achieve this. However, you assure me that you won't leave. Instead, you desire autonomy in setting your own schedule at your own pace. When do you intend to start implementing this new approach, Andrea? Your hesitation is apparent. Do you have my support for this decision? My response was clear. I don't agree with any of this, Andrea. When we got married, we vowed to be lifelong partners and lovers. Now it appears that you want other romantic involvements. How do I interpret this situation? It seems as though you're distancing yourself from our marriage. Sweetheart, it isn't like that, Andrea replied, her voice laced with exasperation. I need to rediscover a connection that's been elusive for a couple of years now. Our lives have been consumed by work. I don't feel valued by you as I did when we first wed. Valued? Goodness, everything I do is for your sake, I countered, feeling my anger simmering. I've been working tirelessly to provide for us and construct the future we envisioned when we got married. We're nearly debt-free on this house. I had to confront the matter that requires immediate attention. Are you considering other romantic partners? I inquired, trying to maintain composure. Sweetheart, I can't predict my actions. If it feels right with the right individual, I might contemplate it, she said, averting her eyes. So you're contemplating infidelity? I pursued, unable to hide my disbelief. It isn't infidelity, Rob. It's something different. You stated calmly that it isn't considered cheating if one is aware of it. My blood pressure skyrocketed. I inhaled deeply and took a sip of my coffee, wishing it were something stronger. I had to maintain composure to navigate this discussion effectively. Allow me to clarify, Andrea, I said, trying to sort through the confusion. You intend to socialize with other men, possibly engage intimately, yet continue residing here with me, correct? Honey, it's not as simple as that, she replied, her voice shaky. I haven't decided yet, Andrea stated. It appears straightforward to me, I retorted. What about us? Are we expected to pause our marriage while you're pursuing this? Do you anticipate us remaining intimate during your explorations? Absolutely, Rob. We are a family, you and me. I hold deep affection for you, and I wish to maintain our family bond. This is something I feel compelled to do for myself, she said, her eyes seeking understanding. And how frequently do you intend on doing this, Andrea? Are we talking weekends, multiple times a week, or every night? How intense are your plans for this pursuit? I haven't decided yet, she replied, sounding irritated. Why do you keep focusing on the specifics? I countered. Because I want to understand what my life will be like while you're socializing, dating, and spending time with your new companions. I don't have a girlfriend, Andrea. Not at this moment, she clarified. The last part seemed to come out more harshly than intended. I took a deep breath and slowly released it, trying to keep my anger in check. Andrea, before we leave today, I need some clarity. Are you absolutely sure about this? Have you considered how this might impact our marriage? Andrea nodded, but didn't directly answer my question, implying she hadn't contemplated my feelings or thoughts on the matter. It seemed she hadn't given much thought to how it may affect me. Then she spoke words that would alter our future. If you care for me, Andrea, you won't proceed with this action. Infidelity, regardless of prior warning, is a deal breaker in our marriage. Now, my course of action needs to materialize. Here are the terms, non-negotiable. If you wish to involve other men, you must vacate the house. I can't reside under the same roof with you while you date and have intimate relationships with others. Hosting them here is a no-go. You'll need to secure alternative housing. Darling, where should I live instead? She inquired. Maybe you could stay with one of your friends, like Jessica from school. You've spent time with her, right? She's divorced and living alone, isn't she? Reach out to her and see if she would let you stay for a while. If that doesn't pan out, you can lease a temporary apartment instead. All expenses, utilities, and your car payments will be your responsibility. Andrea was employed as a grade 3 teacher in an elementary school and earned a sizable income. In contrast, I was a forensic auditor in a large firm, earning a substantial income, including yearly bonuses. It seemed that my relationship wasn't fully satisfying her needs, as she implied. Andrea appeared to perceive my readiness to compromise for the first time, sensing victory in our eye contact. I continued, "So, if you're open to an open marriage, I suppose I'll need to be understanding while you engage in extramarital relationships. Will you eventually come home to me, Andrea?" "Dear one, of course I will. I love you deeply, you're my husband, and I want us to create a family together," she responded. "And what should I do while you are engaged in intimate relationships with other men? Do you expect me to remain loyal? Should I wait for your affairs to end and then welcome you back with open arms and love? Have you given thought to how this affects me in any way? I desire you as my husband, my love, and no one else. My actions during my temporary absence will not alter my feelings towards you. Upon my return, I wish for you to be my husband and the father of my children," she stated. It struck me as an unusual expression of affection. She had already acknowledged that I wouldn't tolerate her bringing her partners into our home, and it seemed to her like a concession. She could engage with other men without worrying about my involvement. "Very well, decide on your accommodations and inform me this week. However, we have some matters to attend to here. I need you to transfer your clothes and possessions to the spare room. I'm uncertain if I can share the same bed with you at present. Your proposal is too distressing, and it feels as though you're abandoning me, even though you haven't expressly said so. What are your thoughts about this situation, Andrea? You seem to be pondering if I'd accept it without question, but I suspect you underestimate me. Leaving our bed wasn't a casual request. It suggested a possible infidelity, which I couldn't simply overlook. Did you think I was so naive, ready to passively accept your absences and resume our married life as if nothing had happened? Not likely. It occurred to me that some of these notions might stem from Andrea's friendship with Jessica, another teacher at our school who, 2 years ago, was dismissed for infidelity. Jessica, a 35-year-old attractive woman, has a habit of pursuing affairs with any man she finds appealing. I had a firm belief that Jessica was swaying Andrea's urge to self-discovery prior to starting a family. To me, the predicament was straightforward. If Andrea pursued too much self-discovery, there wouldn't be a family, at least not with me. All that would follow was a divorce. I got up from the table and started walking away. Andrea asked, "Is that all, Rob? Are you asking me to leave?" "Yes, temporarily. Please don't misunderstand me, Andrea. I don't want you to proceed with any of this. We vowed monogamy when we married, and you're planning to breach that commitment." "Commitment. So, precisely what do you want me to do? Do you think I'll simply stand by while you involve yourself with other men? Or if you desire an open marriage, then I suppose I'll have the same choice." Andrea fell silent, and I departed before our conversation escalated into an argument. I picked up my car keys and exited the house. "My dear, where are you going?" she called after me. "I'm unsure at the moment, but remember to shift your possessions to the extra room and begin searching for alternative accommodations. Note that there will be no involvement in extramarital relationships until you relocate." As I departed, I deliberately closed the door more forcefully than normal. Though I considered driving to Jessica's apartment to confront her, I realized it was necessary to control my anger and agitation temporarily. The predicament originated from Andrea, and she could handle the inconvenience it brought. Furthermore, I suspected that Jessica might be open to accommodating Andrea, and I had to restrain myself from engaging in a physical confrontation with her. On Monday morning, I was already at my office before Andrea had even woken up. A substantial amount of work needed to be done on my strategy, considering Andrea's plans. Given her actions, I had no intention of accepting her infidelity. Since she appeared determined about our marriage, action was required from me. I felt disheartened that she assumed I'd tolerate extramarital affairs, thinking I'd remain oblivious, then pretend nothing happened upon her return. The thought of her returning with an STD or even pregnant was unacceptable. So, my first step was contacting my attorney, who also happened to be a friend, handling various legal matters like real estate and wills. I didn't expect him to handle the divorce directly, but could refer a capable divorce lawyer. True to form, he recommended a competent divorce attorney from his firm. The same afternoon, I met with her. It was a difficult discussion, but my new lawyer, an experienced litigator, was well versed in our state's laws. I aimed to keep the divorce amicable. In fact, I was content with a 50-50th split of our assets since we started with little and built our comfortable life together over time. I wasn't entirely devoid of compassion, and arguing over possessions would only prolong the divorce proceedings. The possessions weren't valuable enough to endure a dishonest wife. I would wait and prepare the required documentation until I had proof of my wife's infidelity. Until then, this was merely an opening gambit on my part. The days seemed interminable. I made every attempt to minimize my time at home, going out each evening, mainly to the gym, to alleviate stress. I observed that Andrea was spending a considerable amount of time with Jessica. On Thursday, she told me she would be staying with Jessica for a couple of weeks until she found a more fitting dwelling. I knew it would provide her with an opportunity to be with her boyfriends without my disturbances. It appeared as if Jessica might be hosting her own boyfriend concurrently, making the situation quite complicated. This predicament was simply baffling and complex. On Saturday, a week after our 5th wedding anniversary, my wife indicated her involvement in extramarital affairs by packing her possessions and preparing to leave. Yet, she hesitated moments before departure. "Sweetheart," she implored, "I don't want to go. Are you certain there's no way for us to resolve this so I can remain?" She professed her deep affection and eagerness to enhance our marriage. In response, I couldn't help but feel frustrated as I told her, "Andrea, if you truly cherished me and sought marital improvement, you wouldn't carry out these actions. I want you to stay here with me at home, but I can't support your infidelity. I love you, yet I can't accept it. If you refuse to consider counseling to tackle our problems, I'm unsure what else I can do." Upon her packing, she headed off, and I drove to the hardware store for fresh locks, replaced 3 old ones, and reset the code for the garage door opener. Spent Saturday night and Sunday at home, contemplating the walls, wishing Andrea would reconsider. The ensuing week was tough. Daily visits to the gym, resuming my running routine to combat stress. At times, I was drawn into a profound sadness, longing to seek Andrea out, plead for her return. Despite my intellect telling me otherwise, it was hard to accept that my wife had been engaging in extramarital affairs while still married. It made me feel like an utter failure, questioning my worthiness. Seemed like she found me so inadequate that she openly displayed her infidelity. I delved into the internet to explore reasons behind infidelity among spouses and the psychology involved. Shockingly, around 40% of married couples indulge in extramarital affairs. Remarkably, about 90% of these individuals opt to remain within their marriages. Frequently, infidelity is subtly endured by the other partner, particularly when children are present, making it less challenging for them to accept the unfaithfulness and continue as if nothing occurred. Many wives who cheat affirm their love for their husbands and families, yet yearn for excitement beyond their marriages, a thrill they feel is absent at home. Numerous women involved in affairs articulate that their homes necessitate substantial effort. The daily struggle of managing a family, overseeing children's activities, and handling everyday chores renders sex and intimacy with their husbands monotonous. They crave excitement with a partner who solely focuses on them without delving into discussions about children or chores post-intercourse. Maybe the secret to a strong marriage is treating one's spouse as if they were having an affair without the divorce. Just savor the physical aspect. I pondered the notion of attempting to woo my wife at the club she often visits with Jessica. People have affairs for numerous reasons, such as dissatisfaction in the sexual relationship, a lack of passion, or a disconnection between spouses. At times, even as a reaction to their partner's infidelity, some women claim they cheat to save their marriages, though I harbor doubts about that. Regardless, it is what researchers studying extramarital affairs have found. Marriage is complex, and relationships necessitate effort. Open marriages, where both spouses consent to having other relationships and partners, rarely last long term. Emotional bonds develop, feelings are bound to get hurt, and many couples find themselves divorcing. Similar complexities arise in polyamorous unions, particularly when children are involved. The risk of transmitting a sexually transmitted infection within the relationship is an ongoing worry. In my opinion, monogamy offers the best solution for a marriage. If both partners don't concur, they should reassess their dedication to one another or seek out alternative partners. Was I neglectful and pushing her away? Did I not give her sufficient attention while concentrating on creating a life for us? Was I wrong? I'm unsure. What I am certain of is that I felt disheartened when my wife left our home for extramarital relationships. She sought what she believed I wasn't providing, but I didn't see her actions as beneficial to our marriage. Thus, another week passed by slowly. I chose not to contact my wife, and she merely sent a text asking me to forward her mail to her new address, providing no hint of an intention to save our marriage. Her message was purely transactional, suggesting she was actively seeking a boyfriend or even two for pleasure. The idea of casing her apartment to discover who she was seeing briefly crossed my mind. I passed by the apartment several times, but held back from stopping. I understood I couldn't put myself through that. I had to let her make her choice. Otherwise, she would never be my wife again, truly. As each day passed, the chances of her returning grew slimmer. In fact, the longer the situation lasted, the less I was inclined to take her back. After a month with scant communication, Andrea unexpectedly appeared at the house without warning. When her key failed to open the lock, she pressed the doorbell and knocked. I opened the door with a composed demeanor. "So, Andrea, why are you here today?" I inquired. She responded, "Oh, my key doesn't seem to work in the lock." "What's the issue?" I explained matter-of-factly. "The reason is because I changed all the locks." I prevented her from entering when she tried. "What do you want, Andrea?" I asked again. She replied, "I came to collect some items I left behind when I moved in with Jess." Once more, this visit wasn't about seeing me, but solely focused on her possessions, showing little concern for my feelings or the pain she was causing. It seemed as though she was unaware of the distress she might cause. Was she ignorant or misguided to think I wouldn't mind her liaisons with other men, or that I would eventually welcome her back? "There are boxes in the garage containing your items which I collected from around the house." "Why did you do that, dear?" she asked again. Since it was still partially her home, I allowed her entry. We made our way to the garage where she spotted numerous boxes containing her possessions, awaiting her pickup. "How long will you be staying with Jessica?" I inquired. She answered, "Jessica's been very helpful. I plan to stay a while longer. I think it'll only be a few more months before I return. Then I can become a better wife for you, dear. We can start our family then." Her comment sparked internal eye rolls and feelings of disgust within me. How could she believe that her relationships with other men would improve her as a wife or prepare her for motherhood? My thoughts on the matter were quite different. "By any chance, have you found yourself a boyfriend?" I asked directly, but Andrea blushed in response, and I needed no answer I already knew. After much hesitation, she confessed, "Jess and I have gone out with guys from our regular club, but that's as far as it goes." Intrigued, I pressed on, "How are things sexually with your new companions?" Andrea grew flustered, searching through the boxes for her possessions. I stepped out of the garage to drink my coffee and read the paper in the kitchen. A short while later, she reappeared carrying a large bag, seeming to expect chaos after her exit. To her dismay, the house was spotless. A cleaning crew had been hired to visit thrice weekly, leaving no sign of disorder. No dirty dishes piled high, no empty beer bottles scattered about, and definitely no laundry mountains. Instead, the house was pristine, and I remained composed amidst my wife's departure to explore relationships with other men. "Is there more you require, Andrea?" I asked, sensing her interest in the current circumstances absent of her. She responded, "Well, sweetheart, have you been managing since I moved in with Jess?" "I'm doing well," I answered. "I've been quite occupied with work and usually traveling." Inquiring further out of concern, she asked, "Sweetheart, have you gone out anywhere at all? Or have you been staying home alone?" That was the crucial question I had foreseen. It was time to introduce a subtle twist into our conversation and gauge her reaction. "I've been trying to keep myself engaged," I disclosed. "I became part of a cycling group that gathers twice weekly for organized rides. We begin from a specified location and ride together for 40 to 60 miles. It's been quite pleasant, and I've met numerous new acquaintances. They are truly remarkable individuals. Normally, we proceed to a bar afterwards for a beer and a burger, as the cycling certainly stimulates an appetite. I deliberately avoided excessive drinking since it offered me no benefit whatsoever in terms of health. Lately, I've lost around 15 pounds, a combination of exercise and stress caused by her actions. Regular physical activity was seemingly the only factor preventing a total mental collapse. Her tone suggested curiosity about my activities beyond the scope of her question. I sensed she was inquiring if I had been socializing with other women. As Andrea departed from the house, she might have come to understand that her scheme wasn't proceeding as flawlessly as she assumed. Perhaps her husband could find someone else and decide to terminate their marriage. Her pursuit of a boyfriend as a substitute for the attention she perceived her husband denied her could have more severe consequences than initially imagined. It became clear that Andrea had been involved with two men from the club she often attended with Jessica and had engaged in intimate relations with both on numerous occasions. Yet, neither appeared eager to spend meaningful time with her outside their encounters. They were married men merely seeking casual pleasure, using Andrea for entertainment, a typical example of pump and dump. By the second month, I had accepted the end of my marriage and was ready to move forward with my strategy. Andrea had been unreachable for weeks, signaling no concern regarding me or our matrimony. She was free to chase her desires, showing no intention of returning home. Even if she had considered coming back, it would have been under various conditions, and I was unsure whether I'd accept her again. My doubts deepened when I found out she went on a vacation with one of her boyfriends to the Dominican Republic during school break. They claimed it was for tanning and other indulgences, but if this was her idea of bolstering our marriage through infidelity, it fell far short. The allure of Jessica's persuasive stories, portraying me as a negligent husband who neglected my wife, had already swayed Andrea's perspective before she chose to leave our marriage. Now she lives in a two-bedroom apartment with her disgruntled divorced friend, and her standing among colleagues and family is plummeting. When Andrea's mother learned that she had gone to the Caribbean with another man, she contacted me, wondering about the cause of our separation. She probably thought we were embroiled in marital discord. I informed her that her daughter had abandoned me for sexual liaisons with other men, a fact she found hard to believe. I advised her to address this matter directly with Andrea. During their conversation, Andrea's mother asked, "Andrea, why did you leave home? What's going on between you and Robert? Are you being mistreated?" To which Andrea responded, "No, Mom, he isn't abusive, but he doesn't fulfill my current desires from a man. I don't feel desired or attractive to him. I need that feeling to be wanted, so I'm pursuing it elsewhere for now. I want to have some fun before Rob and I start a family. I intend to return to him in a few months when he will value me more, and everything will be all right, you'll see." Shocked by her answer, Andrea's mother sternly warned, "Dear, if you involve yourself in extramarital affairs, Robert will not want you as his wife. Infidelity is the quickest route to destroying your marriage. Do you fail to grasp that you're mistaken?" "I know Rob loves me, Mom," Andrea asserted. She is certain he recognizes her requirements. "I'll be back home in a few months, maybe less than a year, and we'll begin our family then." Her mother urged her urgently, "Dear, you must regain your senses and return home immediately. Otherwise, there won't be a marriage or husband for you to come back to, let alone any children. Do you comprehend me?" "Mom, I am convinced that Rob loves me," Andrea reiterated. Despite her mother's persistent attempts, she could not sway her beliefs. Consequently, adopting the notion of equality in action, I decided to investigate the prospect of a life without her. It had been around 3 months since Andrea left, and it was time for me to progress onward. Gathering my nerve, I approached one of my female cycling acquaintances for a date, longing for female camaraderie and a respite from the repetitive lifestyle that had taken hold since my wife's departure. My days were structured around work, gym, cycling, and sleep, with little variation, serving as a monotonous backdrop to my hopeful anticipation of this tumultuous phase subsiding. This was my existence. I harbored a sliver of optimism that Andrea might regain her senses and put an end to this farce by returning home. Yet, such a scenario seemed remote. I found myself faced with the stark reality. She likely wouldn't return, at least not as the wife I had wed or the woman I had known before. It seemed she was reveling in her newfound independence and craving the thrill and validation as a woman that our marriage had lacked. In line with the reasons psychologists suggest for married women to stray, I aimed to organize a date without appearing overly eager or merely hitting on someone casually. I wanted to familiarize myself with my cycling group members before thinking about asking one of the females out. I sought a genuine bond, not a pity date. Many of my cycling friends were aware of my marital separation and suspected that some might know about Andrea's dating activities. Word spreads quickly in a city of our size. Delighted when Diane, one of the women in the group, agreed to have tea or a drink with me, I proposed going out on a relaxed Saturday evening to a decent spot and arranged for us to kayak on a nearby lake before dinner. Having dabbled in kayaking a few years ago, I was familiar with the procedures. For the first time, Diane ventured into kayaking and expressed her interest, which we confirmed with a plan. This transformed the event into a date. We enjoyed an excellent 3-hour kayak trip, covering approximately 10 miles. Post-adventure, we visited a quaint restaurant for a filling meal and drinks. I selected craft beer and steak with fries, while Diane preferred white wine with pasta. The atmosphere was laid back and casual, devoid of any tension. We concluded the evening by purchasing ice cream from a waterfront boardwalk stand, and I drove her home. I intended to give her a friendly kiss on the cheek, but she caught me off guard by initiating a kiss on my lips instead. It was an enchanting surprise. I delayed arranging another date until our usual Tuesday bicycle gathering for fear of appearing too zealous. To my astonishment, Diane raised questions about my absence of contact, suggesting that it might have meant I didn't appreciate our time together. I promptly reassured her that actually it had been great and I truly appreciated our excursion and spending time with her. We planned a Saturday date, this time for golf. After learning about the right balance of contact through texting and calling to keep someone's attention online, I know men who excessively message or call women often come off as too eager, which tends to discourage them. On Friday, I sent Diane a message expressing my excitement for our Saturday golf game and suggesting a pickup time, giving her the option to meet me at the club if she preferred. She graciously asked for pickup, so we agreed on an early afternoon appointment. Our round of golf was enjoyable, even though neither of us were pros. That night, we dined at my place with a barbecue and wine. Following dinner, as night fell, I readied myself to drive her home. Instead, she grabbed the car keys from me, left them on the kitchen counter, and requested a tour of the bedroom. The next morning, I found myself lying beside an attractive woman with her arm over my chest. Diane boasted long, dark hair, mesmerizing green eyes, and blemish-free skin. A tiny scar on her chin from a past bicycle accident lent charm to her otherwise perfect visage. She stood around 5 feet 11 inches tall, keeping a lithe silhouette. Estimated weight, approximately 140 pounds, in prime physical condition. Her profession as a nurse specializing in pediatrics at the hospital hinted at her caring nature for others. She seemed genuine and possessed an irresistible allure that captivated me from our initial encounter. Our breakfast discussion took place on my patio and eventually gravitated towards my future plans, including the prospect of divorce. The topic was delicate, but I realized Diane needed clarity about my intentions before she committed emotionally to our relationship. It's not ideal for a woman to invest time in a man who might reunite with his estranged spouse soon. Upon explaining Andrea's strange reasoning behind her departure to Diane, her facial expression mirrored my suspicions. She assumed Andrea wouldn't return. I believe Diane's hint facilitated my progression into the next stage of my plan. On Monday morning, I reached out to my lawyer and requested an investigator for the case. My aim was to discover the number of men Andrea had been seeing before serving her divorce papers. It was revealed she was dating several men, predominantly married ones, and they frequented Jessica's apartment for further festivities after leaving different bars and clubs throughout the city. 2 weeks later, Andrea received the divorce petition, signaling the start of a turbulent phase. That evening, she arrived at the house to confront me. Upon opening the door, I found my estranged wife standing there, clutching a large brown envelope, her face etched with worry. I asked, "Andrea, why have you come here tonight?" She replied, "Darling, a man handed over these papers to me today. Why did you initiate divorce proceedings? I told you I'd be home soon, even this week. We could work on the baby we discussed." I invited her in and asked her to sit down in the kitchen, saying, "It's quite late for that, Andrea. I made it clear when you left that I didn't want you to go, but you did anyway." She tried to justify herself. "Darling, I told you I needed to discover who I am and feel confident about myself." I responded with a touch of irony. "So, are you content now? Have you found your self-worth as a woman? Have you been experiencing new sexual adventures, meeting intriguing individuals, engaging in various intimate episodes?" With growing irritation, I said, "It seems to me that you have been. Since our separation, communication from you has been nearly non-existent. You didn't even call on my birthday, likely preoccupied with a boyfriend of yours in the Dominican Republic during that week. Your mother contacted me, puzzled as to why you didn't reach out for Mother's Day. It appears that your time has been dedicated to physical gratification." She appealed, "Dear, I deeply love you and I understand that I may have overstepped. I will be returning home today." Firmly, I replied, "No, you won't. Dear, what are you saying? I am still your spouse, and this is still my residence. I am going to retrieve my belongings from Jess's place and will return in a few hours." I clarified, "No, you aren't. Not here. Have you reviewed all the papers in the package you received? At the rear of the documents, there's a judge's decree prohibiting you from being within 500 feet of this house until the divorce is finalized. You are technically breaching that court order right now. I won't escalate the situation, but you need to depart immediately, and we can discuss the specifics in court." Andrea was gradually accepting the gravity of our marriage promises, which encompassed pledges like love, respect, cherish, loyalty, and above all, fidelity. I informed her that this house held no emotional significance for me. If she wanted it, that was acceptable. It's almost paid off, so my share is roughly $150,000. She could acquire it for that price. However, if she wasn't prepared to pay that amount, we would sell it and divide the earnings from the sale. Initially, our arrangement was simple. She wasn't returning while I stayed in the house. I saw her off at the door, locking it behind her. A month down the line, we averted a court hearing and resolved our divorce amicably without fuss. Andrea acquired half of our possessions, as per law. We sold the house, and I carried on with my life. It was rumored that Andrea's school, a charter school, suggested she maintain a lower profile regarding her personal life. Reportedly, some parents were uneasy about her relationships with several men in the vicinity, which made them uncomfortable about her teaching their children, particularly among the vocal mothers. Some of these fathers may have been among her suitors. Eventually, Andrea was diagnosed with an STD, non-fatal but requiring a year of abstinence. Her pregnancy was not a major issue as she was already pregnant. It appeared that one of her partners had fathered the child, though the identity remained unknown. Andrea's habitual omission of birth control pills, frequent drinking, and lack of condom use contributed to this situation. The man who resembled a teacher at her school, a married individual, was a possible candidate as the father. My divorce with Andrea was finalized, leaving me free. It has been approximately a year since the turmoil with Andrea began. I bought a new house, received a promotion at work, and most significantly, Diane and I are living together now. We are thrilled to share that we will be getting married this summer, and we expect to become parents around Christmas.